Welcome to Inner Alchemy with George Stuby, Trauma, Healing and Plant Medicine, the podcast where we explore what it means to heal, grow and transform from the inside out. In these special interview episodes, I sit down with artists, with healers, with visionaries to talk about their personal journeys, the shadows they have faced, and the wisdom they have gathered. From altered states to everyday rituals, these conversations are an invitation to remember who we truly are. I'm George Stuby, a psychologist and musician specializing in the trauma-informed work with plant medicines and with somatic psychology. Welcome to this podcast. Yeah, I'm super happy here to be with my friend Pierre Ravan, who's a true bridge builder between worlds, a lifelong student of spirituality and a pioneer in weaving consciousness into the global nightlife scene. Yeah, for over 3 decades, he has been redefining what it means to bring wellness, luxury, and music together. And as a DJ, producer, and certified yoga teacher, and also Heartfulness meditation teacher, Pierre is one of the first artists to merge uplifting dance music with yoga and meditation, a vision that gave birth to his globally acclaimed Caravan concept. And Pierre's personal journey has taken him from Pacha, Ibiza and Ministry of Sound in London to Defected Croatia, Sunburn in Goa, always guided by one purpose: creating unity through music. And beyond the decks, so to speak, he has collaborated with brands like Dolce & Gabbana, Roberto Cavalli, Hublot, and recently launched Eternal Journey, an innovative platform blending luxury, well-being, and spiritual experience. And yeah, what makes Pierre truly unique is his courage to bring presence and consciousness into places where people might not expect it, transforming entertainment into a doorway of awakening. Welcome, Pierre, to this podcast today.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me there and giving me the honor to be part of your journey.
Yeah, something you also pointed out in our conversations leading up to this podcast today is how important it is for you to merge all those different worlds. Can you tell me more about that?
First, you already experienced it, but for our viewers, sometimes we tend to differentiate these words that you mentioned: luxury, wellness and well-being, entertainment. And people divide them. But at the end of the day, I have only one word: the art of the heart. What are the art of the heart? You know how you spell heart? H-E-A-R-T. He art. What are the art? Anything which come from the heart in any field is perfect. Be it in the luxury, be it in the wellness and well-being, be it in entertainment. Now, in that space, the relationship is intertwined. What I mean by that is luxury and spirituality is totally the same thing. Wellness and well-being with music, it's a need of the hour, because anything which connects with your heart, music must be part of it. And people misunderstood even the word of luxury. They think luxury is bling bling. That's not luxury. Luxury means something which is priceless. As it is spirituality, how much would you pay for God? I don't think you can pay any price. How much would you pay for reaching that spiritual experience or elevation of consciousness? I think if there was a price to put for it, you wouldn't be able to afford it. That's why it's luxury.
I think that's a very beautiful definition right there. And I'm curious to hear more about how your spiritual journey and how your musical journey are connected. And maybe you can take us a bit back in time and tell us how that all went.
Let me take you then again more back in time. You see, we all, as we know, our soul journey is amazing, right? Whatever our soul already decide, he come back. Why are we coming back to this beautiful earth, of this beautiful life? Because we have to finish a journey which we didn't finish before. We chose, of course, depending on which level of consciousness we left this earth, and so-called we didn't get our liberation of moksha, but that is a separate talk altogether. But let's assume we decided, as George, as Pierre, we want to go back on earth. Now, or you have such a very big spiritual task like an avatar, or no, you just didn't really fulfill your mission and you come back. But you come back even in a more evolved George and Pierre, because something was still missing. And to be honest, what means spirituality? To find out why you're here now. Now, to go back to answer to your question, I feel from my childhood, I was always in love with music. I am coming from a Sufi family. My father was coming from the Sufi family. And music, especially the drum, because, you know, I am born as a Persian. I mean, I hope my human form has been kind of reincarnated in Persia. And Sufism was always part of my heart. And the minute I heard this drum, which we call a daf, which is a spiritual drum, that totally awakened my soul. And I knew I have one journey to do in the music section. Then, when I started to become a DJ and, you know, to go to my luxury business, I always felt that I need to connect with my higher self. And that higher self, we are reinforcing by music. You see how they are connected. And then again, when I grew up and I finished my study and I started to go in the fashion field, I started fashion and then beauty, I realized, oh my God, the whole beauty business, the whole fashion business, as much you get connected to your heart and your level of consciousness increases, and with music, you can totally go to your creation. I said, you know what? They are all linked. But there was one big question for me. What is the path that I need to find which take me to my highest level? Highest level, not as a superiority like an army, as to obtain the best version of who I am. And for me, that was the challenge, to find a path which gives me that.
Beautiful. And would you say you have found that path?
If, you know, I don't want to be arrogant, but in whole humility, yes. I tell you, when
No,
I
that's
say
awesome.
yes, because look,
And I knew that answer, so it was kind of a trick question.
but
I
my
still wanted to
age, you
ask
see, it took me a long time. It was not,
Yeah.
you know, fortunate are the one they grasp it when they're young. You know, when you're young and you have a lot of opportunity in front of you, be the carrier, because you see, I need to emphasize one thing. Materialistic life is extremely important. Money is the energy. People who said, oh, you lead a spiritual life, you don't have to look for money. I'm sorry, it's totally wrong. A true spirituality is all about balance. Like the two wings of the bird, you need to have one wing which is your materialistic life, one wing which is your spiritual. But they are not even disconnected from each other. And I
They're connected to
pray,
you in the middle, the
yeah,
body. Yeah.
and you're the one, and the tail of the bird or the airplane is your heart. The heart will guide you. Okay, now you know you need to have this balance and respect that. And I pray for the youngsters. I hope they find their path when they're young. I tell you why. You avoid a lot of time wasting. You avoid a lot of, you know how to clear all your emotional package who dragged you down. Some people say, yeah, but I needed to go through that to learn. Yes, you needed to go through that. But if you had the tools to just accept it as an experience and then move on with having, instead of being dragged down for a very long time, then you can say, I had to go through that experience for my spiritual elevation. Spiritual elevation is what? Is not my nose became bigger or I can fly high. Those are in the Hollywood movie. Spiritual elevation is only the elevation of consciousness. Now imagine if you have this knowledge, this inner knowledge of the heart when you're young, you can still become the best DJ. You can become the best singer. You can become the best business person, but with your perception change. That's why for me, my case was I had to find a lot of different paths, Sufism. I was doing TM, which is the transcendental meditation that we all know with Maharishi. I tried many paths, but it took me always to somewhere. Then that was it. And I said, what's next? And the question was asked, Pierre, what are you looking for? I feel, George, the first question people should ask themselves before finding any path, any guide, any direction, guys, what is your priority in life? What are you looking for? Peace? Are you looking for to become more powerful? Or no, you become one with the source. All depend on your interest. And based off that, nature will definitely bestow on you, which it bestowed on me. It's a guaranteed.
In my experience, that priority is also going to change on that journey.
Of course, the only thing stable in life is always change. But change to what? Change of?
In my perception, when I look on myself and like what I felt were priorities or what I wanted from life, let's say when I just finished school, I can see nowadays that a lot of those things were like not only but also influenced by compensation, by the need to compensate for certain things. And there was a big part of me that wanted to be a musician because I really, really love music and I love to share it. But there was also a part that wanted to do music because this part had a lack of feeling seen or being appreciated. And it kind of used music and, for example, being on stage to compensate with that. And for me, a lot of things shifted when I saw that and when I was given the tools to integrate this part and to liberate it. And now I still love doing music, and even I would say I love it more than ever before. But it has lost this impurity or this like, impure frequency energy that was like in it when I was, for example, 20 or like, in my 20s. Yeah.
Because you evolved.
Yeah, that's what I mean with like priorities will change with your own personal spiritual evolution.
I would say your priority change with your level of consciousness.
Yes.
You see,
it's a good way to say it.
As we know, we are talking now together. We have what is the difference? It maybe is also important for people to know what is the difference between awareness and consciousness. A lot of people might ask themselves, wait a minute. Awareness is a tool that for you to be able to perceive your consciousness. Let me elaborate on it. For example, our level maybe of consciousness will be like a film of water sandwiched between the superconscious and the subconscious. Now imagine when your level of consciousness expand, soaring to the superconscious and going deep to the subconscious, it became like a canvas. It means you can live a life of doing your duties towards yourself, toward your family and everything, but you're so much connected with yourself and the nature, you perceive things differently. Correct thinking, right understanding, an honest approach to life. And then anything which will stop you growing towards that consciousness, your heart will say, George, stop. That's impure. The funny part is, people have a biggest tools in them, but instead of diving within, they still relying on an external factor, We had this conversation. Let me elaborate. The heart knows everything. The mind is limited. The mind is connected to your experience, which your experience now as a George is different when you were 20 years old. But your heart is infinite because your heart comes from infinity, go towards infinity. As much you meditate and as much your consciousness evolve, your heart signals are louder or louder. I give you an example. When you see, your heart will not say, "Congratulations, George, you see perfectly." But one day you stop not seeing, your heart will signal you, "George, there is something wrong with your heart. Go and see a doctor." And this is where the heart, whenever there is something wrong, the heart speaks. But we love to shut it up because you don't want to hear the reality. We said, "Shut up. I don't want to hear." The heart knows. That's why I feel, if you ask me what is the smartest way to grow spiritually, be it in the music, is listen to your heart. You know, we hear in the song, "Listen to your heart" or "Follow your heart." Those are very poetic, but go deep what that means. What that means, follow your heart. Are we able to really listen the heart to then courageously follow it? Ask the question.
And if somebody who listens, for example, or watches, says, "Yeah, that's actually something I would like to do, but I don't know how that works," like what would you say?
Fantastic. That's why we are here. You know what they need to do? One thing I have to mention. Anything in life, this is a very simple formula. Anything in life which will stop you and is poisonous and is toxic for your spiritual elevation, or forget about of your growth, you need to rid of it. Even if you have it. Anything that you feel, it will give you inner, not only peace, inner connection, and you get to know yourself more and more, pursue it. Now, if somebody asks me, "Pierre, I don't like to meditate. I would like to do a ceremony, like I love to go during those ceremonies and there I feel I'm safe." Do it. If your heart says so. If your heart say, don't do it because of many reasons, which is not our debate, don't do that. If your heart says that person, the person who I'm dating, or that person who I'm very close by, this person is toxic, cut it off. But I tell you, to all the audience, the nature is so beautiful. The minute that you're really seeking, it will come and knock the door. People talk about Bible. Seek and you shall find. You know that track that I loved, we made it. Seek and you shall find. But that's the reality. But are you really seeking? Are you truly, honestly putting all your interest in it? Then it come to you. Be honest with yourself. At least with yourself. If you're not with others.
And I feel like a big part of this is also distinguishing the heart, to use your language, from the mind, for example, or from parts of ourselves that are hurt, or that are that are hurt from the past and that are still running the show in the background, or that still have a big voice in ourselves.
That is how shape our life. We can call it, I'm sure you're more expert than me, we can call it conditioning. The word conditioning, and that conditioning can come from our past life with all the impressions that we all created, but don't forget, it can also create in this lifetime our upbringing, our epigenetic. If you look at all the science between epigenetic, this is huge. What means epigenetic? Epigenetic means you as a parent, when you want to make love with your partner, be it your wife or your partner, you transmit all this genetic formula to your next generation. You're very responsible for that. Means even at the time of conception, even when you're making love, I never learned that. I'm learning that. Even that intention can absorb the level of vibration of the soul coming down to the womb of your partner. You know, we are now talking about totally different aspects, which is, again, I don't want to derive of our conversation, but I want to say something. Is we are conditioned now for whatever. Let's find a path that can clear it. I give you an example. It's like a pattern. It's like I give you a very, maybe somebody who is now dating somebody. Ask yourself, till you don't break that pattern, you will date the same guy or the same girl. Again, you break up, and then again, you go back to the same hole because it's not your fault. Your samskaras, or I will call it your past impression, bring you back to that habit. You need to break that cycle. Now, again, which path can help you to break that? Look, I am not against what is happening in the world about all the kind of different ceremonies, healing trips and all. I'm not here to judge. Who am I to judge it? But one thing I want to say, sometimes everything has its own space. It's like a path. I give you an example. I was a Sufi. Then after Sufism, I went to TM. And after the TM, the master of TM told me, this is not good enough. Find another path will take you to the higher. Every stage of life, it takes you somewhere higher. But ultimately, remember, what is the goal of life? This you should always realize. What is the goal of life? And if you answer that question, which I'm not going to answer it for you, you find out. And based on that goal of life, then you set for you, as we go back, your priorities and said, I will do anything possible to reach that goal. But you might say to me, Pierre, you're talking too abstract. That big goal. You're right. Set mini goals. Mini goals. Fulfill that mini goal. The next mini goal. The next mini goal. All these mini goals which lead you to the higher goal. Look, what I'm talking is not very spiritual. Actually, is in the business school. You can learn that in the business school. And this is what I'm doing. You reach mini goals. You create your destiny now. Don't be in the future and in your past because you're losing your present. You now, in your present moment, are creating your destiny. Am I making sense?
Totally, yeah. Yeah. I love this concept of like, well, how I would translate it to ask myself what's really important for me. What is my priority, or what are my priorities in life from where I am right now? And then to follow those, and for example, also to set like smaller goals on the way, and to know, and that's my personal experience, that life will guide me through that and maybe show me, hey, this priority of yours is actually absolutely not important for you at this moment. But this is, or this path is maybe not the path right now, but it's the path in a few years, or it's like, that it's like naturally unfolding. And starting the question with the question, what is important for me right now, is like a really great initial moment. There's this book that I really love called The Surrender Experiment.
Beautiful.
You know?
I love the name. I don't know the book, but the name is so beautiful.
Okay, good. It's written by a guy, or you could also say spiritual teacher, called Michael Singer. And in this book, he tells his own life story. And there's a moment where he reflects on all the people he met in his life that, like, were important for his personal life, for his business life, that showed him a new way or inspired him to do a certain project that then led to something different. And then to the next thing. And then he asked himself, in this reflection in the book, he asked himself, who are all those people anyway? And then his answer is, those are people, those are messengers from God, from the divine, who showed me who show me what I'm supposed to do with my life.
Beautiful. That's fantastic. Everything in life. Look, for me, that was for me very important that I learned, like music business, like we talk about. And a lot of people ask this question, wait a minute, you're a DJ, you play house music, you produce, I'm producing for past 35 years. And you're in the clubs, you work for Pacha, you like to be there, a lot of champagne, a lot of, chemical intoxication. Then that contradict what you're saying. Wouldn't that not stop you to a spiritual growth? And I will say no, because I go back to the book name that you told me. When you surrender and when you connect it to the source and when you are not the doer and you really put that intention to say, you know what, guys, I love you. And through that music which you love and you resonate and you try to make this change, the change definitely happens. Because, I realize in one thing, George, and I would love you to focus on that to our audience, which will be a lot of music lovers. We are dividing already the world. I give you an example. Yogis, you go all the people, yoga festival, and they have even higher ego than the normal people because they think they reached. That is the grossest way of ego. When you think you reached, you never reach. Remember that. Whenever you think you are not. Because the minute you have the conscious of being, the I-ness come in the front. Sometimes you reach the destination, you're not even aware. And sometimes the yogis will say, now the clubbers will say, what is this boring yoga sitting and all this Hare Krishna business? We want to party. But now imagine, when you create the word community, when you create the word immunity, you have this word unity in it. Why? Because we as a human being, remember guys, I want to give you a very strong message. We cannot grow individually. We can only grow collectively. We are not made to grow individually. If you grow, George, your growth will help me to grow. Means I need to contribute to your spiritual elevation. You should contribute to me. You should contribute to others. And this is what you do. That's why for me, as a DJ, was this. When you go to a club and you have a lot of people, especially now that the DJs are God, and you transmit that to their heart, and when you play the first track with a strong message, and you bring that unity, bear my word, after 35 years of experience, always there is at least, I say at least, one sensitive heart who come to your DJ booth and say, what did you want to tell us? One. Because at the end of the day, it's all about quality. That one, that day, you brought them the gift. Is this not noble? That's why in many of my interviews to the youngsters, they say, oh, you're an old guy. But no, I can still go to a techno club and rock the place. And I love after parties. Why? Because that's where people have zero resistance. You went there for whatever reason. I'm not going to judge you. Are you on something or not? I'm not going to judge you. But your resistance is zero. And that's where the work can penetrate, because we resist the work consciously or unconsciously. Now, imagine that you go there and you connect that, and that person can come and say, you know what, today I got the message. And DJs has extremely big responsibility. Guys, do you really think you're the one you're famous now and you play everywhere? Do you really think, yes, you work hard for it, but without the source attention, you will be zero, because you were meant to do the work. Now you have an opportunity, do it well. put your ego down and connect more and more. And we will see, you will become that channel that the flow will be faster and more and more and more and more. Become the conduit. I sound like a preacher now.
And I feel that's that's true for musicians and DJs, and it's true for everyone. Like everyone can have a positive impact on the people around them in everything they do. And but I I'm not sure who talked about that. I think it was actually Bob Marley who talked about that. That he basically talked about how powerful musicians are. That if a musician is on stage and he says jump, everybody's jumping. Politician can say jump and nobody's jumping. It's
Jumping.
like it's
Exactly.
a power.
Good point. Very good.
And that's something I also speaking about Bob Marley, really love about him, how he realized that the music that he's making is really important for like change in society and change in politics.
But did you hear what you said now? He realized, the word realization, you see? He realized. It's like God realization. People talk about God realization, but it's not the knowledge. Realization is far beyond. Bob Marley realized what you said, right? It's not he did it because he heard that working. I think realization for each human being has to come. You have to realize. The word is very powerful. That's why we say in the human quest, we talk about God realization. Again, people talk about what's too abstract is not. God realization is the most simplest things, and it's the most simple means. Again, it go down to what your interest is. Sometimes when I hear, I got the track from DJ Spen, label, as you know, and they have a lot of gospels. Or when you hear all these gospels, and it's so touching. And because, and forget about what religion you come from, but when you go to Soulful House, or even when you go to the deep, or when you have a message which is so powerful, it just touches your heart. Remember when you and me, we DJ together back to back at Defected? I still listen, this set of us. Remember, we did our session of meditation and hypnotic thing. And again, we had this beautiful unity in our work. I gave us little yoga meditations, heartfulness. Then you and Sufi took us on this beautiful journey of, the hypno. And then you and me, DJ, bro. Did you remember that set? People coming to the DJ booth and said, what are you guys doing? And it's not about that we play a track that nobody knew. It's about how we play the track. Was what back to that soulful track when we talk about love, unity. And it went to the core of everyone. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember super well, like on the ocean in
Croatia.
Croatia.
You see, we can do it everywhere and do it. But we need to get together, be united.
Absolutely. And something I also that's also standing out for me from what you shared is that on festivals and nightclubs, a lot of people are very, very open. Partly, I would say, through substances, but also because they relax, they open up, they get out of their all-day life, sometimes struggles or stress.
I would say mostly struggles, like all of us do.
Yeah. And in this openness, they can receive something that they usually would block out, or that their system would not be open enough to receive. So it's actually there's so much potential in those spaces, and it's not always used, I think.
is not always used. And that's where I go back to all the DJs who have the opportunities. I just don't want to name people because this is against my belief. But I give you an example. For example, you go to Ibiza and you go to Universe, right? This year, the most high-end production they have, as far as all the projection they have, and people go for an experience. Whoever play in Universe, you can use your own projection, and imagine you have 10,000 people. Just for 1 second, guys, visualize, imagine there is 10,000 people in a place. I would say you might have minimum 30 different nationalities, minimum 30 different cultural, social background, different genders, be it a man, woman, transvest, doesn't matter the gender now. I'm going to talk about the soul. You have one DJ playing, and for 5 hours he can do anything he wants with you. Now, imagine you're that person. You have a visual and you have a music playing together, and you are there to experience it. Now, I give you two different scenarios. One, I can visualize you something which totally mess your mind and make you more complex, or project you in something to let you connect with you, whoever you are, with your higher self, and truly make it as an experience that you feel after that, you know what? I feel so pure and I feel so simple. You be the judge of it. I give you another example. A lot of people ask me about AI. Let's talk about AI because that's a hot topic, right? Oh, AI, they say, is totally, look, AI or no AI, the final decision is through the heart. Means if even now, let's say you're using AI to facilitate your work, but at the end of the day, it gives you the base. You use the base and your heart will do it. A lot of people were saying, oh, this ChatGPT now is giving us a wrong information because, in AI, you have something we call a hallucination, right? AI hallucinate. Or you give him a prompt and the prompt doesn't come. You see, guys, I'm not this old guy who doesn't know. I'm using a lot of AI. But you know what I'm using in AI? To give me more time to meditate. I'm using an AI to spare my time. I use an AI if I need to do a research. And that research, instead of sitting for 5 hours to do, I get the bullet point or I get the mind map of it. But my heart will make the final decision. What is it that I need to use? Means ultimately AI is good, but it comes to you to make the final decision.
100%, yeah. And I think, I just thought about that even before AI. There was this opinion that if someone wants to lose weight or do a certain thing, we live in a time and age where all the information how this is possible is online. So it's for us to use it. And of course also to discern like what information is good information and what is bullshit.
Very beautiful word you used.
That's probably the most important one.
Wow. You today you use already good words, realization and discern. Discern is actually the biggest tool of humanity, which we call it in Sanskrit the viveka, means the discriminative faculties that we have to differentiate what is wrong, what is right. That's correct, George.
Yeah. And I feel the heart is really important in that too.
Of course.
Like to feel like what is right for me in this moment.
And that again comes from your discriminating factor because you can discriminate that moment. You're so in tuned. Let's say the business term, you're so centered. We call it the word centeredness, right? You're so centered that for you it's very spontaneous. In this moment, this is for me the most important thing. Based on that, your discrimination faculties work. This I should do, this I shouldn't, Again, But then you go back at the end part that I say you need to have a courage to really, really follow it. Because that's the biggest. To be courageous, to follow the heart. That's why, George, in spirituality, we said you need to be a lion-hearted, not the sheep-hearted. You know what's the difference? When you're a lion, then we don't, you have a courage of a lion. You are lion-hearted. You lead. And you roar and go through it. You're the king of it. But, that's why all of this, you see, again, what we are talking about is not theory. We are not talking about metaphysics. I am experiencing it every day. You are experiencing it every day. And if you ask me, did I reach anything out of it? No. As you introduced me well, I'm a student of spirituality. I have my depressions every day. I have my struggles. I have a family that I need to feed. And do you think I'm at peace every day? Hell no. But at least I acknowledge it. And when you acknowledge it and accept it, you say, ouch. But that ouch make you grow. But the minute you will not trying to accept that, okay, this hurts, but what is that there for me to learn? And that needs a joy. That's why in spirituality, we say spirituality is a joy. Not all these boring people who start in spirituality, they became so boring. I mean, they think spirituality means sitting and not dressing well, not driving a good car. No, that is not spirituality. Spirituality actually gives you a joy of life. It's so joyful. Think about it. It's joy, pure joy, spirituality.
Yeah. And what I hear from you, part of that is also enjoying like the body and the material world.
Look, tell me, George, you are having a very strong discriminating faculties in your life, and the nature will give you a lot of money. Somebody with you, as higher you reach, you know how better use this money. And when I say use, it's not about giving money to the poor people or no. You might create institution. You might create many things. You need that energy of money to use it. But at the end of the day, you are the one. Because it's like making a business. People differentiate business and a spiritual practice. It's not like that. I give a tip to everyone. When you meditate in the morning, a lot of people meditate, right? But if you do meditation like a normal practice, okay, you meditated the 1 hour in the morning. As soon you get up, you have your wife or your girlfriend or your child who is shouting at you and you get angry. Finish. You lost all the condition that you already gained. It's how to keep that 1 hour meditation and extend it during the day. Means ultimately you practice your 24 hours in a meditative state. Now, meditative state doesn't mean you're in coma. You see, meditative state means you're so connected with yourself that anything you do, when you are making even money, you're connecting with yourself. Now, what is the tip? It's okay. You lost your connection. Take a deep breath, sit at your chair, reconnect, and remember the condition that you gain in the morning and continue your life. How difficult is that?
In my experience, I would say it's getting easier and easier the more I integrated the pain and the repressed feelings that I've experienced in the past, because then there's less and less that can really trigger me so much that I'm forgetting about the bigger picture. And then be in a meditative state in a very natural way without forcing it or without suppressing it. Because I feel that are also people who say they're in a meditative state, but they're actually suppressing all their emotions. And that's also not the way.
If you suppress it, will come back. It's like in our heartfulness meditation way that, for example, when we meditate, we always say, never stop your thought, because your mind is made to have thought. I mean, the day your mind will not have thought, get worried. Go and see a doctor. It means because your mind is created, but you became the master of your mind. You don't stop your mind. And in the meditation, the thought comes, you just ignore it. The minute you put weight on any thought, it will 100% rebel back. I give you an example. For example, a lot of people who have sexual problems, because that is the strongest passion which God gives us, right? Now, if you suppress it and you say, I'm not going to do it, it will only rebel back. But imagine if you regulate it and you use it in your control and do it whenever is the need, with the clear conscience, with the clear intention, with the way that you know in your heart that is the right thing to do, then it's a different ballgame. But the minute that you became the slave of it, that's where you're gone. Slave of our desires. That is the worst thing. When you're the slave of your desires. As I said, in my case also, it's a work in progress.
Totally. And I think that's really important to acknowledge that for everyone it's a work in progress, and that if it's not a work in progress anymore, we're not alive anymore.
No, but then what is the need? You just need awareness. Listen, tomorrow you do a mistake, you have a fight with your family. You need to have this awareness to acknowledge if you did a mistake, be the first to say that. Yeah, but that needs a level of awareness, as we discussed. Look, I give you another example. People might say, what this guy is talking about. I'm teaching my kids this. When you're sitting and somebody opened the door, even the way somebody opened your door of your room shows the level of the consciousness of that person. You can really know how level it is. The way you speak, the way you act, the way that you react. It's all linked of your level of awareness. It's a mirror. That's why we meditate. In meditation, it's you mirror your higher self. That's why sometimes, I personally, myself, sometimes I'm very disappointed because I see the way I reacted. I say, what's wrong with you, Pierre? Did you react? I mean, you're calling the promoter. The promoter don't even acknowledge you, and you became so hurt. Wait a minute, you don't even know who I am. Wow, the ego comes in the front, and I know my higher self said, Pierre, what are you doing, man? I mean, why are you calling this guy 100 times just to get a booking? I mean, if he thought you were worth, he would have called you back. But your ego said, no. How dare this guy didn't even reply to him? You see the game? But when you're aware of it, it became a laughable thing. Of course, you're not going to do it anymore, but then you stop yourself and say, you know what, Pierre, enough is enough. You did try 3 times. Now shift your energy to something more productive. I want why I give that example, because I want also people feel this is not any metaphysics. It's in your practical life, you can practice that.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think that's a good pathway to the last question. If people want to practice that and experience the path that you found for yourself, like how can they do that? How can they find information, or like where would you point them to?
First of all, thanks for this question. I want to say something that might shock a lot of people, is that this path of meditation that I will introduce you now, first of all, is for free. I start by then. The problem with us is anything for free, we don't like it because we say it will not work, right? For free, how? But just to tell you, to all of you, this is the most deepest experience I had, and I would like to share with you. The name of the path is Heartfulness, which is like a transcendence of mindfulness, because everything's come from the heart. True heartfulness, what is this beauty that heartfulness offers, and it differs? I'm not saying better or worse. It differs. There is something which we call that transmission, or in Sanskrit, prana-huti. What that means? It means through this yogic divine energy, your level of consciousness gets transformed. And this is pure. Because meditation without this prana-huti will be extremely dry. Like every engine that needs a fuel of our soul is that from where we're coming from. Which in Sanskrit, again, guys, it might be boring for you, but for the one who want to challenge yourself, it's pranaya, pranyasha, prana. I mean, it's from energy which come from the source, which we all come from the source, regardless. And heartfulness through a trainer, one of them is myself. There is 18,000, I would say trainers, not teachers. Teacher is only one. Trainers who can facilitate that. And everywhere in the world you can find one. And through this, you can get the transformation. George himself experienced that. And actually, I feel whoever would like to know more or contact George or myself, and we find you a heart spot. Heart spot means a place in the world. There is actually an application. I want to find a heart spot. For example, now, today, I'm in Paris. I know where is it. I actually go next week in Dubai. There is one in Dubai. I went to India, is one there. If you guys are in Holland, there is one there. Everywhere in the world, we have a heart spot, which we... Guys, do not lose this opportunity. If you're watching this podcast today, ask yourself, why am I watching? I feel house music all life long. I love still that. And to end up this beautiful podcast and opportunity, I want to thank George. I want to thank his angel guardians who I can see around him and also are with us today, that he created that platform to maybe bring something to you guys, to a food of thought, a soul-searching maybe mission. And what we're going to do now, guys, you will be surprised. We are not going to end this call. You guys will not see. George and myself will sit and we will meditate now. And you will hear my music later in the background. And we are at your service anytime you guys are ready. And thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me on Inner Alchemy. If today's session resonated with you, consider sharing it with someone who might benefit. To explore more or work with me, you can visit my website, georgestuby, stuby.com, or you can find me also on Instagram as I am George Stuby. And yeah, until next time, may you stay present and embodied and in flow, and sending you much love.